In 1965, Pakistan launched an air attack. And they had these fancy American jets those days, the Sabre jets. And then we heard that a Sabre jet had been shot down. And I remember I told my mother I want to go and see that place. And she said, absolutely not. You are prohibited. And I was, obviously as a child, you can't go to, but it was not very far from where we were. His tenure in Assam was historic. And if I may just recount two or three, one was his strategy was winning the hearts and minds of the people of Assam, because they had been alienated because the Ulfa movement there, and they felt neglected. The whole of Northeast, including Assam, nobody had heard of a very famous Ahom general called Lachit Barphukan. Lachit Barphukan had defeated Aurangzeb's army, led by, I think, Man Singh, or I forget who the general was, not once but twice. And the battle is very famous. It's called the Battle of Sarai Ghat. Battle of Sarai. Now, can you imagine? I am an MA in history, and I did not know, because we weren't taught that. He commissioned a huge painting of the Battle of Sarai Ghat by a famous Assamese painter and placed it in the Raj Bhavan. In 1997, when he soon after taking over, he did a lot of touring in Dhubri and other places in Assam, and wrote a seminal report to the President of India, to Rashtrapati Ji, on this problem of illegal migration. In many ways, he knew Kashmir even better than he knew Assam. And I'll tell you why. He was G3 Ops, Ops is operation. Guess who the G2 Ops was, the Major? Yahya Khan.
Oh.
And guess who the G1 was, the GSO 1, or the General Staff Officer 1 operations? That time, Lieutenant Colonel Sam Manekshaw.
Wow.
He got martyred there. But that saved Kashmir, because that airlift is one of the biggest airlifts in military history. In 1982, he came up with a standard operating procedure that in case the Indian Army has to go into Harminder Sahib, the Golden Temple, it must do so with utmost respect. He even laid down each point, SOP, running into pages. This is how it should be done. All attempts should be made to flush them out, etc. What actually happened, his biggest disappointment was not being made the army chief, which he should have, it was rightfully his.
Today we are speaking on a very important subject, and we are speaking to a very proud son of a very, very decorated, officer, Lieutenant General Sinha. Joining me and this is a time the country is celebrating its centenary year. So joining me is his son, who was also a very prominent diplomat, and his name is Ambassador Yash Sinha. So to start this interview, I just want you to explain us about your childhood. How were the beginnings with your father, great father?
I'm the second child of my father. My older sister is 7 years older than me. So when I was born, he was an instructor in Mao, in Madhya Pradesh, near Indore. And I'm the only son, because there are two sisters followed me. So everyone expected that I would be a very spoiled person, but no, my father, being in the army, was a disciplinarian, but not that strict either. But he decided very early on that I should go to boarding school, otherwise, with living with all the ladies, I might get spoiled. So, and he did a lot of non-family stations in his early career. So he had a very remarkable, career. He himself, he was born in Patna, and he lost his mother very soon. He's the eldest in his family, in his generation. He had 10 siblings, all of them, So my grandfather was in the police, in the IP, in the one before IPS, IP. And his father was also in the IP. He was the first Indian to be made Inspector General of Police, or head of the state police in any state, in 1939 in Bihar. So my father had a lot of, he was very close to both his father and grandfather, but he used to idolize his grandfather. And many a time he would stay with his grandfather because his father would be traveling. And he was a very, I don't call it a precocious child, because he was very bright. So he passed out of school very early, and he joined Patna College, which was considered a very good college in those days. And in 1941, he won the All India Inter-University Debating Competition in Allahabad. So he was
In 1941.
1941. He was sent by his university, Patna University, to compete there, and he won the cup. And I have a photograph of his. My sister actually has it. I have taken a copy now of him with that trophy. You know, it was a very proud moment for him. So he was a very articulate person. Right from his childhood, he spoke very well, and his phenomenal memory. So you know, he could speak on any subject related to his field. He was very fond of military history, etc., for hours without notes. And all those who knew him in the army and outside when he was governor, we used to remark that we haven't seen someone like that who speaks without notes on the subject, without deviating or repeating himself. Now that was a remarkable sort of quality he had. So he had a very eventful life. He joined the army during the end of the World War II. He joined the army in 1944. He was trained at Officer Training School, Belgaum, Belgavi. I mean, so Belgaum, and it was very interesting. There was British officers, there were Indian officers also, and he was sent to Burma, Myanmar, Burma those days. So he was commissioned in the Jat regiment initially, because later on he went to the Gurkhas after independence, because in those days Gurkhas regiments didn't have Indian officers, only British officers. So it was only after independence he was transferred to the 5th Gurkhas. And then of course he served right through his career, and we were, you know, when we were in non-family stations, we had to stay in Patna, or I was in the hostel. But I remember some very early memories of mine when he was commanding his battalion, the 3rd 5 Gurkha Rifles, during the 1965 war. He was in a place in the East Pakistan border, the Bangladesh border at that time. And we were actually, the battalion was stationed in Fort William, Kolkata, in Fort William. But when the war was nearing, the battalion was shifted to the border, and the reserve position of the battalion, where the family, we were all shifted to a place called Kanchara Para. Now, Kanchara Para is near Barrackpur in Bengal.
Right.
And I have very fond memories because, you know, while at Fort William, I insisted and got a uniform for myself. So I have photographs with me as what, 8, 9-year-old in a uniform. The only thing I didn't have was the Gurkha hat.
Right.
And I used to always ask my father, I want that Gurkha hat. My size was not available, but so I have a lot of, so I was very keen to join the army myself.
So can you give us a glimpse of what happened during that war? Like any memories you have?
So 65 war, I have very, I mean, we were very near Barrackpur. So we had trenches, you know, bunkers. We were, when the siren would go, and if you remember, I think it, I forget the date, but September sometime, in 1965, Pakistan launched an air attack. And they had these fancy American jets those days, the Sabre jets.
Right.
The Sabre jets. And there was a dogfight between our Nats, our small Nats, and the Sabre over Barrackpur.
Okay.
And I, as a child, remember the, you know, traces and flashes. I mean, I don't remember exactly. And then we heard that a Sabre jet had been shot down. And I remember I told my mother I want to go and see that place. And she said, absolutely not. You are prohibited. And I was, obviously as a child, you can't go to, but it was not very far from where we were.
Yes.
So that was my first experience of, you know, this sort of action.
So he shared any experiences with you on the battlefront?
Yeah, in World War II, Myanmar, the jungle marches, you know, he used to say he used to get leeches in the, so he used to rub salt and take out those leeches because it was difficult. And then his interaction with the Japanese, and after the war, in 1945, when the war finished, he was posted to Indonesia. And he was adjutant of a Japanese POW camp. And he's written in his memoirs A Soldier Recalls, that is his memoirs as an army officer, up till his tenure in Nepal. Rather detailed, he writes about his interaction in the POW camps with the Japanese and his life history basically, which is a very interesting read. In fact, he wrote that book because he came visiting me to Riyadh I think it was 1991
You were serving Saudi then.
at that time I was 89, 88, 89. My son was born in 88, so must be 88. And he decided that for his grandson he needs to leave an account. And that's when he went back and wrote. And that book finally was published in 91 or 92. So it gives a very good account of...
Sir, now coming to some contemporary parts of his lifetime. Like he was also governor in two very critical places, Assam and Jammu Kashmir. Do you have some experiences to share? I read about him that how he finished the insurgency there.
In Assam, when he went in 1997, and I remember that very clearly, he took over, he was given the oath of office, he was sworn in on the 1st of September 1997. And I was posted in Pakistan, in the Indian High Commission. And he asked me whether I would like to come for the swearing in. And I said, how do I get? So I took some leave, and I was fortunate I got leave.
Then there were direct flights that time?
No, there was via Lahore to Delhi. But I remember I could not get a ticket on that flight because it came suddenly, you know, right. This was not advanced. My father got the news. Mr. I.K. Gujral was the Prime Minister then, and he called and, you know, gave very little notice that, and my father had to rush to Delhi. So I took a flight via Karachi. Okay. I remember, so it was a few hours in Lahore. The connection was only twice a week or thrice a week. So I took a flight to Karachi, and from Karachi I flew to Delhi, and from Delhi I flew to Patna and travelled with my father to Guwahati in time for the swearing in. And when the swearing in took place, the whole night I spent, the next day I went back, back to Pakistan. So I remember that very well. In my first visit to Guwahati, in fact, first visit to the Northeast was on the 1st of September 1997. And you know, funnily, in 1974, I was in boarding school. I had finished, I was passing out, I was doing my ISC, and my father was commanding a division as a Major General in Rangia, which was near Guwahati. Right. And he said, you know, where people who did the Indian school certificate had 6 months between passing out, because in December you passed out, and college was later in July. So he said, you come and spend a month or two with me in Rangia. And I was so excited. But when my exams were giving over, I got a message from him that, son, I have been transferred to Delhi, so I have cancelled your ticket. So I was very disappointed. But then, of course, I came to Delhi. So I could not go in 74, but I went in 97. And his tenure in Assam was historic. And if I may just recount 2, 3. One was his strategy was winning the hearts and minds of the people of Assam, because they had been alienated because of the Ulfa movement there, and they felt neglected, the whole of Northeast, including Assam. And you are aware of the illegal immigration problem and the ASU student movement and etc. So it was difficult times, and he was sent there because he had served in Assam. And being an army person, Mr. Gujral must have felt that you need someone who can coordinate civil, army, you know, and come up with a strategy. So his strategy was to win the hearts and minds. So small projects like mini Hydel projects in Assam, hundreds of them, with the help of the army and with the civilian government, he was able to establish. So that helped people in isolated areas.
So he won the confidence of...
And then he did some things which played on the heart of the Assamese people. Now, in those days, nobody had heard of a very famous Ahom general called Lachit Barphukan. Lachit Barphukan had defeated Aurangzeb's army, led by, I think, Man Singh, or I forget who the general was, not once but twice. And the battle is very famous. It's called the Battle of Sarai Ghat. Battle of Sarai. Now, can you imagine, I am an MA in history. And I did not know, because we weren't taught that.
Yes.
So when my father, obviously being a military historian, so what did he do? He commissioned a huge painting of the Battle of Sarai Ghat by a famous Assamese painter and placed it in the Raj Bhavan.
Okay.
Then he got the army, the services, to institute a prize, the best cadet prize in National Defence Academy, Khadak Wasta, called the Lachit Bharpukar. So much so that his name became extremely popular in India, and I think 400 years of Lachit Bharpukar was celebrated 2 years ago, I think, 450 years.
Yes.
And the Honorable Prime Minister also came to Vigyan Bhavan, and there was a big 2-day, 3-day celebration. People hadn't heard of him.
So he brought to the fore.
He brought the name. Of course, people in Assam, everybody knew, but outside Assam, people didn't know. The second, Gopinath Bordoloi, the first chief minister, the famous chief minister, he was a Congress chief minister. So my father recommended that he get the Bharat Ratna. And he was given the Bharat Ratna by the NDA government under Mr. Vajpayee, if I remember correctly. And he got the terminal, the airport named after him, and a statue installed. And now a new terminal is coming up with the same name, etc. Honorable PM. These are small things that really create. And then, of course, the illegal immigration. In 1997, when he soon after taking over, he did a lot of touring in Dhubri and other places in Assam, and wrote a seminal report to the President of India, to Rashtrapati ji, on this problem of illegal migration. And it became a bit controversial because you know how it is. People say, no, we are not. It's not. It's difficult sometimes to identify.
Also, vote bank politics.
Exactly. So you said it. Vote bank politics. But the Honorable Supreme Court, I think in 2005 or 6, struck down the IMDT Act and quoted from his report. So that was a great, recognition of the fact. So he won the hearts and minds of the people when he was transferred to J&K. He
and also glorified the past,
The Unified Command worked under him. The army and the police and the civil administration. So he was a very proactive in that sense, and he was fortunate. He had 2 good chief ministers whom he could work with. One was Prafulla Mahanta and the other was Mr. Tarun Gogoi. Both they were able to work with him well. So when the BJP government came to power, the NDA government came to power, I think it was 98 or 99, I forget. And everybody said now the governor will be changed, but he was not changed.
So he survived all the parties.
No, and then he went to Kashmir. Mr. Advani and Mr. Vajpayee sent him to Kashmir in 2003. And then the NDA went out of power in 2004. But the UPA government continued him right till the end of his term in 2008. And in Kashmir also he tried to win the heart.
Then Mr. Vora came.
Mr. Vora came after him in 2008. So
tell us something about the Kashmir tenure also, because that was also a very troublesome time. Yeah. The insurgency was not at peak, but it was very high.
So in many ways, he knew Kashmir even better than he knew Assam. And I'll tell you why. In 1947, he was here in the Military Operations Directorate. It was very interesting. If I may digress a bit and then come to the build-up to Kashmir. He in 1946, end of 46 or early 47, I have to consult the book, he was posted to Delhi as a captain in the Military Operations Directorate of the Army Headquarters.
Right.
And it's very interesting. There's a rank called General Staff Officer 3, and in short form it's called G3. So he was G3 Ops. Ops is operation. Guess who the G2 Ops was? The Major Yahya Khan.
Oh.
And guess who the G1 was? The GSO 1 or the General Staff Officer 1 operations. That time Lieutenant Colonel Sam Manekshaw.
Wow.
So can you imagine that 3 served together, different ranks. My father was much junior. And so much so that Yahya Khan, when he came later. So he was staying in Zakir Hussain Marg, and it was called Wellesley Road, the mess. Till his car came from Peshawar. It was a Hummer car, if I remember correctly. I mean, what my father telling me. He used to ride pillion with my father's uncle had given him a second-hand Norton bike. Okay. So from Zakir Hussain Marg, Wellesley Road to South Block he would go.
He shared any pictures with you?
Yeah. No, those pictures, those days 47, 40, they are not, I don't think, but I mean, he has pictures of the 47 operations which I am coming to when Pakistan attacked the tribes.
Tribal attack.
They called it, but they were actually Pakistani army in civilian uniform. So in that 26th of October 47, this Maharaja acceded because they had attacked, and my father by then had become a major. So he was entrusted with organizing the airlift along with Manekshaw and others, but he was the point person there. So he was able to, the first battalion that flew out of Palam was 1st Sikh, and Diwan Ranjit Rai was the lieutenant colonel that time commanding the officer, and he got martyred there. But that saved Kashmir because that airlift, it's one of the biggest airlifts in military history in those days. And subsequently, of course, and he then was posted on the staff of the British Army commander, Lieutenant General Sir Dudley Russell. But a British officer was not allowed to go to Kashmir as per the agreement between, the fighting. The Pakistanis violated that. The British officers in Pakistan used to go. If I remember, Skardu fell to a British officer just gave it to the Pakistani. But in our side, they didn't go. So my father would be the army commander's eyes and ears. So he would be traveling. For instance, on 1st of November 40, he's written about it. He's written a book, the first book written by an Indian, Operation Rescue on the war then. I think it was 1st or 2nd November of 47. He had tea in those mugs, those steel mugs at Srinagar airport with the first Paramveer Chakra winner of India, Major Somnath Sharma. And 3 or 4, 5 days later, he was martyred in outside defending Srinagar and Srinagar airport. There were a lot of these. He's written in great detail about that operation. So his background on Kashmir, he commanded a battalion. First he commanded a platoon in Kashmir. Then he commanded a company in Kashmir. He commanded a battalion in Ladakh. Then he commanded a division in Cham Jauria, in Akhnur, that area. And then he became co-commander in Punjab, looking up, because that time there was, if I remember, there was a northern command, but he was doing Punjab, and then army commander doing Punjab, Rajasthan, that area. So, but his experience of Kashmir was immense, and that's why the government of the day, the NDA government, Mr. Vajpayee, they sent him there. And he tried the same Heidel projects for the Gujjars and Bakharwals, it helped, and he managed to do quite a lot. In fact, he did, with the help of South Asia Foundation, you remember the Pakistani group Junoon?
Yes, that band.
The band. It came and performed thanks to him in Srinagar.
Oh,
so,
okay.
He was constantly trying to
So he was trying to bring the people together.
And because of that, these separatists, these militants...
They were sidelined.
No, they wanted to sabotage his efforts. So if in 2008, he, with the help of the state government, the chief minister was Ghulam Nabi Azad, very fine person, very close to my father, they worked, and he decided that the Amarnath Yatra Trust should get some land, temporarily forest land for the pilgrims, the Amarnath Yatra.
Right.
The pilgrims. And that became a controversy because some of the people said, no, this is not correct, this is, you're settling people from outside. Nobody was coming, they were only coming for their pilgrimage and going back. And to facilitate there, the temporary structures were built, but it became a needless controversy. And it became a...
Was he upset about that? Very upset?
Yeah, obviously, it was the end of his tenure. It did certainly upset him. But there were people in Delhi, there's that particular mindset, who were writing that, oh, this is a, agenda for the Hindus. It was complete nonsense. It was for the pilgrims, the benefit of the pilgrims. And as it happened, there were Hindu pilgrims. Amarnath Ji is, Bhagwan Shiv's abode. And it's such an important site. So but his tenure was very, very eventful. And all this cross LOC trade, the bus yatras, or bus service, all started during his time. And he
but that attack also, a lot of attacks also happened during that tenure.
Yeah, but
So it was a very mix of...
So and Dr. Manmohan Singh was the Prime Minister. He really appreciated, the initiatives that were taken.
How was his chemistry with Dr. Manmohan?
Very good, very good.
But was he not, like some people allege, that he was close to the right, and not to the left or centrist.
No, nothing of that sort. He didn't join any party, but his friendship with the leaders
Across the parties.
across party lines.
Like, can you
But
tell
with
few?
Mr. Vajpayee and Mr. Advani, it's a very close relationship because don't forget, in 1983 he was superseded. He was supposed to become army chief. He was brought to Delhi as vice chief in December 1982, and the chief would go around telling everybody he's my successor. So much that when he went abroad to Vietnam in a trip, with the Vietnamese, he said 2 months from now or 3 months from now, he is going to take over from me. So,
But why? What happened? What went wrong?
well, that is something.
No, please tell us about that because it's a very interesting chapter of his life.
So he was a person who was a soldier's man. He instituted a lot of welfare measures like army housing, Somvihar. It started by him.
Just next to our office.
The adjutant, as adjutant general, he started the Army Welfare Housing Organization, the Army Group Insurance, the Army Education Welfare. He did a lot for the army, and as welfare measures. So he's remembered for that also. So anyway, so when he was in Shimla, at that time the Western Command was not Chandi Mandir, it was Shimla.
Right.
Now it's in Chandi Mandir. And we were in Chandi Mandir also. He commanded a corps,
Right.
2 corps. The Kharga Corps was in Chandi Mandir those days. When I got into the IFS, my father was in Chandi Mandir, commanding a corps, the Kharga Corps. So this is 1981. So when he was army commander in Shimla, the Western Army commander, he got, Darbara Singh, the chief minister I think was Darbara, they requested that Bhindranwale is holed up in Mehta Chowk and to send the army there. He said, but what about the police? The army should not be used for this sort of thing. And he realized that, and he wanted, they wanted all sorts of heavy weapons to be used and all. My father said, please don't do it. And better sense prevailed. They decided that they won't.
And I think he approached President.
No, that was later. You see, then, that time he got an order from the Ministry of Defense or something, and the chief was traveling at that time, who was a superior. So he said, I want to put my view across that against this initiative, because it would create, imagine if the army went into Mehta Chowk with tanks or with heavy weapons. I don't know what the weapons were. He's written about it. He's given an interview, on the much after his retirement on this whole episode. And he realized, he set out in 1982, he came up with a standard operating procedure that in case the Indian Army has to go into Harminder Sahib, the Golden Temple, it must do so with utmost respect. He even laid down each point, SOP, running into pages. This is how it should be done. All attempts should be made to flush them out, etc. What actually happened, great force was used, and till now we are paying the price in terms of the Khalistan, though it's a minuscule move, because that attack on the Golden Temple cost the Prime Minister her life.
Right.
He could have, if he had been the army chief, the operation would have been done completely differently. And it's very interesting. When I got posted to London as High Commissioner, the High Commissioners would not go to certain Gurdwaras because of the Khalistani, the troublemakers. I was received with saropas in any Gurdwara I went because of him, not because of me.
Right.
Because they remembered him as someone who tried to oppose Operation Blue Star the way it was carried out.
Sir, please give us some more detail, because you will be knowing much more than, what others may know, what he has written. What transpired during the Blue Star and why he was not given his due?
So he was superseded.
If you can shortly tell us.
He was superseded 1 year before Blue Star. So he had retired and gone to Patna. The reason why, because he had an independent mind. Mrs. Gandhi was very fond of him actually initially in the Army Commanders Conference, and she would give hints that you are going to take over. Something happened, and I don't want to, get into that. It's an old story.
Basically, he rebelled against the...
No, he didn't rebel at all. He just expressed his views. And if the Prime Minister or whoever the leader overruled him, he would, like a soldier, follow orders. But everybody knew that what he was saying is correct. So they wanted a pliable person who would not object. So that was
He was not at all pliable.
So he was. I mean, he's a soldier. A soldier follows orders, but he would have put his. There are other issues where he put his point of view across, and
which was not liked much by that Prime Minister.
They changed it. Blue Star, of course, they went ahead and did it, but he had retired by then. But I am confident, and this is as a son and my personal opinion, and a lot of people who agree with me, some may not agree with me, that if he had been the chief, which he should have been, rightfully is, the senior most officer, the best record, etc., if he had been chief, Operation Blue Star would not have happened the way it was conducted, and perhaps the Prime Minister of the day would have not, wouldn't have been a victim of assassin's bullets months after that. So, all this is now history. People have different views, but life comes full circle also. For him, it came full circle. What he achieved after his army career was perhaps even greater in terms of what he was able to.
The governor of Assam.
Nepal.
What happened in Nepal?
He spoke fluent Nepali, Gurkhali, better than he spoke Hindi. Because when you join the Gurkhas, and in 1951, I think he joined the Gurkhas, you have to immerse yourself completely. He went and stayed in Nepal, in villages, did trekking, all these Gurkha officers to do it. So I used to speak Kesto Chha, Ramro Chha, I used to speak Gurkhali as a child. But I forgot now, I've never been posted in Nepal. But so when he went there, he spoke to the King Birendra in Nepali. And everybody, including my own ministry, people were saying, don't speak in English, don't give. And he became so close to King Birendra and the Prime Minister of the day. Democracy had just come. There was Krishna Prasad Bhattarai. So when Mr. Chandrasekhar became the Prime Minister, being a political appointee, my father submitted his resignation. You are supposed to do that when you're a political appointee. And it was accepted also. But the Prime Minister of Nepal came to the house, to the India House, and wrote there that General Sinha is as much an ambassador of India to Nepal as ambassador of Nepal to India, or the other way around. Nepal to India and India. He's recorded that in his, and he's written about it in his book also. It is there in the visitor's book or whatever is written there. The king was very keen. The king used to say, I want to send my son to train with you, Unfortunately, you know what the son, the Crown Prince, depends, you know what happened later on. Massacre that happened much later. But the king, so he had a personal rapport. He was asked to speak on Nepali radio and television. And he spoke in Nepali to the people of Nepal. Now, that's the advantage that he had. Very short tenure, but very eventful.
So, see, you told us about all the successes. Anything which he regretted, or any failure which he shared with you?
No, I think obviously his biggest disappointment was not being made the army chief, which he should have. It was rightfully his. But I think even this unnecessary controversy over the Amarnath land affected him. I felt, I was abroad, I was in Venezuela. I was ambassador in Venezuela when that happened.
So, sir, how is it that wherever you and your father went, the news followed everywhere?
Not me at all. But yeah, no, I mean, professionally, perhaps he felt that he could have ended his tenure in Kashmir on a far more positive note. But there were forces working against him who wanted to undermine all the good work that he had done in Kashmir. And you know the politics there. Right. So,
sir, as you said that when you went to UK as a High Commissioner, all the Gurdwaras welcomed you because of his position which he took on the attack or whatever that point of during the Golden Temple conflict.
I was surprised, but I didn't tell anybody.
Yes,
but they got to know.
And any other places where you went, like in Pakistan, did you face any kind of a backlash or something?
On the other hand, when I was posted in Pakistan,
because he worked with Yahya Khan ji and all that.
Niazi and he fought in Burma together. So when Niazi was prisoner of war in Jabalpur, my father was the Deputy Adjutant General in charge of all the POWs. So he went and met Niazi in Jabalpur, and they talked about their days in World War II. So he had friends, colleagues, etc., who had been in. But I remember when I went to Pakistan, Yahya Khan, I think, was no more, or he was. But his son, I remember, befriended me when he heard because he must have heard, and then I told him. Another thing is the Industries Minister of Pakistan at that time was a caretaker or interim government. He was the Lieutenant General. And I presented him a copy of my father's memoirs. So can you imagine, they are the officers of that vintage. He wrote a 2-page handwritten letter thanking me and then recounting, that we have similar careers, though we never met, but I was also around the same age and I served there. Very sort of nostalgic letter which he...
What an amazing career, and what an amazing eyewitness account which you described. In the end, how will you sum up the 100 years of his achievements?
So I think he passed away in 2017, in November, 17th of November. He'd had a fall and I was in between postings, Sri Lanka and the UK, and I was in Delhi. So those were difficult times, but I think he had a very full life because he served in the service of the nation for over 40, 45 years and maybe more, almost 50 years, because there was a gap, of course, between 83 and 90. He was sitting at home, writing articles, writing some books. He
was also very fond of media, He was very approachable. I also interviewed him a couple of times.
You did?
Yes,
really?
yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, like not full interview like this, but bites,
Yeah. No, he believed in transparency as much as, you can share with the public, it's good. And who better than the media who convey.
And as you said, he was very, very articulate and very to the point, So it was, thank you, sir. Lovely talking about him, and I hope many more experience you will share in future with us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you for honoring his memory by having this interview.